Before I go into this review, I just want to talk about something kind of personal, which is what it helped shape my love for this movie and the reason why I'm going to talk about the movie the way I'm going to talk about. A few months ago, our dog Maverick, who's mainly my girlfriend's dog, but as you know, you live with somebody and you get acquainted and you grow to form a bond, and he and I have bonded quite a bit over the past a year and a half, and he started having seizures a few months ago, and I have a sister who suffers from seizures, so I've dealt with that since I was a kid until now, so I'm used to seeing somebody with seizures, but seeing your dog, who's kind of like a child to you, go through that, it was rough, you know, and there's times where we really thought that we might have lost him, and we've gotten emotional, and it's been rough, and so seeing this movie, especially with Crypto. I used to watch the animated series Crypto the Super Dog. I've loved Crypto since I was a child. And this movie really resonated with the both of us because of what we've been going through with our dog, and to see that this plays out, you know, following the Woman of Tomorrow comic that debuted June 15th in 2021. It was very, very emotionally charged, and we really, as I said, resonated with it, so that really shaped our love and view of the movie. Despite its flaws, this movie really spoke to me and my girlfriend as well. So we're gonna get into the review now. Directed by Craig Gillespie, Supergirl is the newest installment in the DCU. No, it's not directed by James Gunn. Obviously, it's directed by Craig Gillespie. As I said, a lot of people are blaming James Gunn just because he's the head of DC. This movie was nowhere near as bad as people like to make it out to seem. And those of you who are hating on this film solely because of Millie Alcock, or you don't think she looks attractive, or you think it looks like trash and you haven't seen it yet, your opinion does not matter. Sorry, not sorry. If you have an opinion about this and you don't like it for whatever reason because you saw it and it just did not sit well with you, or you didn't like the cinematography, you didn't like the acting, the jokes, the seriousness, whatever, that's fine. I can respect that. What I will not tolerate is just bashing on myself or other reviewers, or just women in general, or anything like that, solely because you don't like that it's a female, or you don't think she looks attractive, or you just don't like the DCU, or you think the DCU is gonna flop, because that's nowhere near the case. When I first read this comic written by Tom King, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It is a really good, concise story from start to finish. There's great characters like Ruthye Marie Knoll, Krem of the Yellow Hills, many more. And this was just a great comic installment back when it came out, and I was really deep diving into comics that I've already read before, or maybe I didn't read yet, like some series and stuff. And when that came out, like I said, it was really good to me. I loved it, and it was critically acclaimed by a lot of fans. So of course, you have Millie Alcock as Supergirl, Kara Zor-El. We do have an appearance from David Cornsweet in this movie as Superman, and that's not a spoiler. That is public knowledge. He's been in the trailer, and it's known. If you look it up on IMDb, you'll see him in the cast list. One of the standout people in this movie for me was Eve Ridley, playing Ruthye Marie Knoll. And obviously, if you read the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic, you know that it centers mainly around her and what happens to her with involving Krem and her family. We also have Matthias Schoenhertz as Krem of the Yellow Hills, Diarmaid Murtaugh as Drom Braxton, one of the brigands that works alongside Krem. Ferdinand Kingsley plays Elias Knoll, which is Ruthye Marie Knoll's father. Emily Pigford plays Delilah Knoll, and Bruce Lennox plays Edmund Knoll, her brother. One of the many things that I really enjoyed about this movie was diving into Krypton and what happened with Supergirl, because we know what happens with Superman. He was a baby, he was sent off and saved by his father Jor-El and his mother. We get to see the destruction of Krypton in a different way from Supergirl's perspective, and see how her trauma set in. David Krumholtz plays Zor-El. He did a great job. Everybody in this movie, in my opinion, did a good job with what they were given. Some of the writing may have been a little bit off, but the performances were good, in my opinion. And of course, last but certainly not least, we have Jason Momoa as Lobo, which is one of the best castings ever, because he basically played himself, and it's like he was cosplaying himself, and he's Lobo. It was great to see him as Lobo. I just wish that he had more screen time. So I'm gonna give you a brief rundown and synopsis of the plot of this movie in relation to the comic, and then get into my positives and negatives of this film, and dive into why I feel like people are hating on this when they really shouldn't be, and maybe secretly they love it, but they just want to seem popular or cool to hate on something that a lot of others love. So the basic synopsis is Krem of the Yellow Hills is a brigand, and he's extorting like weapons and all sorts of things from Ruthye Marie Knoll's family. Unfortunately, Ruthye witnesses her father and her family getting killed, and that is what prompts her to search for someone to help her in her crusade to find Krem and exact revenge on him. Along the way, she meets Supergirl, who is partying. You know, it's her birthday and she's celebrating for a long time. And as we comic fans know, the yellow sun is what powers Kryptonians and makes them superhuman, or superhuman. And a red sun makes them mortal. So they can actually experience things like, you know, smoking and drinking and feeling the effects of that, hangovers, all that sort, and feeling actual pain and bleeding. The Supergirl is notorious for being a party girl because, I mean, she deals with trauma in a different way. And personally, I think that she had it a little bit more rough than Clark because she actually was of an age where she was competent enough to know exactly what was happening and witness the destruction of her people and her planet and her home. Whereas Clark was a baby, and yes, he was informed of it. He might have seen some things in the crystalline structure or, you know, the remnants of his parents and talking about things. So yes, he has trauma as well, but I think her trauma is a lot worse because she actually physically witnessed it. So throughout this venture, Ruthye and Supergirl go on a quest to find Krem, but both of them are doing it for two different reasons. One, like, which is like in the comics that they adapted to the movie, was because of Krypto. Krypto unfortunately gets hit with a poison arrow and makes him exceedingly weak, paralyzes you, and within about 3 days you will be done for, like you are dead. Supergirl is distraught. I mean, that's her baby, that's her boy. So she, in order to find the antidote, the brigands keep them on their person as a tactic, like a torture tactic. They torture people, question them, whatever, with the poison, and then they give them the antidote if they deem it fit, which, I mean, obviously they wouldn't. The themes around this center around anger, revenge, depression, trauma, and ultimately mercy. Throughout this film, we get several different themes and we get several different songs, and one of my positives but also one of my negatives is the music. I love the soundtrack. I love that they incorporated different songs that were more tailored to like Supergirl and her raunchy nature, her grunge type of appearance and style. One of my big negatives, which it doesn't make the movie any worse because it's not a bad movie to me. One of my big negatives was the score. Like there were some slight notions of a score, but there are iconic moments of like her coming, like flying in the sky, coming out of smoke and being in the sun. There's no real epic theme that you can really hear and really embody and really dive into, like the Supergirl theme. And while there are some scores within there, I feel like there should have been more of like that score aspect that we get in Superman and like other movies. I really wanted to hear more of like a actual Supergirl score during those iconic moments. The action in the film was great. I don't really have any negatives with that. Sometimes the CGI did seem a little bit off, but again, it's a comic book movie, so it's supposed to look comic booky. It's supposed to look gimpy. It's supposed to look silly, and they did a great job with it. Lobo was one of the highlights for me, obviously. He did a great job. Jason Momoa is great as Lobo. I just personally wish that he had a little bit more screen time. Like with the times that we got him, it was great. But there were other times where I felt like he should have came in. He should have been involved. And there's one line from Lobo that everybody knows and loves, and it's the main man, the main man. Like, I wish that they had him say that, but unfortunately he did not.
Translating interlac.
The main man's contracted to kill this bug. The rest of you can go.
Not gonna happen.
Fine. You had your chance.
The acting in this film was great to me too, and I have to say, I said it earlier, but Eve Ridley really impressed me. Every time she was on the screen, her emotions, I could feel them. I saw it and I felt it. The moments with Krypto and Supergirl, especially when he first gets hit, tears came to our eyes. And as I said, we're going through stuff with our dog and we thought about him, and it was just super emotional. And they did a great job tailoring to the emotions, really getting you involved and feeling like you were there. Was this a perfect movie? No. Was it really good? Was it great? Yes, I absolutely loved it. I feel like it's getting this unnecessary hate because people just love to hate on things that shine. Supergirl shines. No, it is not perfect. It is not the best DC movie, but it is a really damn good good DC movie. There were times where Kara was fighting, and I felt like, okay, you know, she could probably do a little bit better, but then quickly I changed my thought on that because she's drunk, she's hungover, she's processing things differently, she doesn't really care that much right now. So of course it's gonna seem a little bit lackluster. Of course she's not really gonna be that focused. She knows she's super, she knows that she is strong, and she knows that she can handle things. So she's not really gonna be taking that many precautions. A lot of negatives that I've seen from other people about the fact that like, oh, it seems stupid or silly and she's not my Supergirl. It's like, first of all, she's nobody's Supergirl really. She don't belong to none of y'all, so. Also, you clearly have not read a comic or know anything really about Supergirl and her origins or her past. This is her. Like, she is traumatized. She processes trauma different. We as humans, we process trauma differently. Any species, they have trauma. Animals, they process trauma differently. She processes trauma differently. She does it by partying and getting inebriated and not really feeling anything. Throughout the film, we see that, you know, downfall, but progression. We see that, okay, I've got to lock in. There's people depending on me, and it's my little boys depending on me. This girl, she needs my help, but I'm more focused on crypto. But as time goes on, she realizes it's not just about herself, and that is what is great about characters like this. It's like, I don't want to say that she's overly selfish, but in a little bit, yeah, she kind of is, but with somewhat of a valid reason because of the destruction of her planet, but she shouldn't take that out on other people. So there's pros and cons here, right? And there's like differences. But I like the progression of her character throughout this film because it shows you just how human everybody is. Even if you're a superpowered being, obviously fantasy and sci-fi, but there's real world notions to it, man. We all experience things in a different way. Some people can handle trauma and just be like, all right, well, this is this and this is that. Other people can't. Other people need things like smoking weed or drinking. To each their own. We all need to find healthier ways to deal with things. Throughout the film, and literally by the end of the film, there were things and nods to the comics. Some things were a little bit different, but they adapted some of the comic pretty well, in my opinion. Especially when it came to certain things involving Krem and involving Ruthye and Supergirl. The idea behind mercy and revenge and anger and sadness, depression, trauma, the idea of possibly losing something forever. So overall, I had a great time with this film. I would definitely go see it again. I am gonna go see it again in theaters. And I will be doing a full spoiler review and breakdown of this film and the comic relation. And once again, if you don't like this movie solely because you don't think Millie Alcock's attractive, or you don't think she looks like Supergirl, or you because James Gunn is in charge of DC and you don't like James Gunn and you want to restore the Snyderverse even though that's been dead for years and it's not coming back, then I'm sorry but not sorry. Get out of here. You don't really have a say. If you don't like the movie for valid reasons, because it just wasn't for you, didn't resonate with you, you didn't like the portrayal of certain characters and certain themes in the movie, and you can appreciate other things in the movie, hey, we can talk, we can discuss. I can respect that wholeheartedly. You don't have to like this movie. But just to throw nonsensical hate around, nah, man, it's just dumb. You're what's wrong with the fandoms. Like, every fandom has toxicity, and nowadays it's just so elevated. And people think that they can just say whatever they want about things because, oh, I can. Like, yes and no. You're entitled to an opinion, but like, what's not cool is just trashing on people who like things and calling them stupid and shills, which is one of the dumbest words I've ever heard created. Good Lord. If you use that word, you're invalidated instantly. Get out of here. It is okay to not like things. That's the beauty about cinema and media and just content in general. There's gonna be likes, there's gonna be dislikes, there's gonna be agreements and disagreements. My friends, sometimes we disagree almost on a lot of things, but it's healthy because we talk about it respectively. We respect each other's opinions even if we don't agree. Why can't we all just do that? It's not hard to be decent. Just be decent. One of the many themes about a lot of the heroes that we all know and love. It's being decent, showing respect. So thank you guys for joining me for another video. It's much appreciated. You know the drill. Hit that like button, that subscribe button, and the bell right next to it. Thanks again for watching, guys. And once again, I will be doing another video on Supergirl spoiler review and talking about the relation to the comics a lot more and deeper in depth. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys. Until the next one.